being at the Olympic Games would be one of the biggest achievements for me in my snowboarding career.
Kind of consumes your whole life. Put in a lot of work and a lot of time and dedication.
Everyone focuses on the end result. It's a commitment to pursuing your passion.
There's a certain atmosphere that's different. It's all or nothing. I want to win, so I'm willing to risk everything.
It's like your time to shine, it's your time to perform.
This is for everything he's got. Can he do it?
Most of the time, you don't win. But I knew that I'd won the race. You know what, I'm going to take risk right here, and I'm going to win the race right here.
We scoured the world for the best skiers and snowboarders, and now they join us here to compete for their place at the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. Welcome to the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Final! Steep Road to the Olympics is developed by Ubisoft and is the official license game of the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. Over 200,000 people entered, and now the best 6 downhill skiers and slopestyle boarders in the world are going to compete here for their place at the Winter Olympic Games. 2 brilliant events, downhill and slopestyle. They'll all compete in both of them, and the winner of each will get a ticket to that amazing event. I'm Matt Andrews, and to help me take you through the action today, I have Joe, Mitch, and Nick, who are going to be commentating on all of the action. Guys, how excited are you for today?
We are incredibly excited to get on with today. Obviously, we are here, we're warming up at the desk, we're ready to break down the games. But what is the atmosphere like over in the studio? It looks awfully chilly in there.
It is a bit chilly, but we've got an amazing crowd here all warming things up, and we've got the snow, and we can't wait to get on the slopes.
Absolutely, we can't wait either. And let's take a look at what is going to be going on across the course of today. My name is Munchballs. I'll be hosting the show here from the desk, and alongside me, I'm going to have Mitch and I'm going to have Nick. Now, gentlemen, this has been a long time coming, and you are looking the part coming onto the broadcast.
Thank you, you as well. And yeah, it's something we started as a YouTube video, just doing some commentary over people's runs, and now we're here at the grand finals, so it's incredible.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this has been a long progression for you guys to finally get here to the studio as well.
It definitely has. We've been best friends for 10 years now, and we've been making videos for 5, so it really does feel, like you said, like a long road coming. It feels good to be in an actual studio together now.
Absolutely, and as I said before, both looking the part as well. Let's take a little moment to talk about what is going to be happening across the course of today, how the tournament is going to be structured. Now, the way that this works is we have 2 different events. We have downhill skiing and we have slopestyle snowboarding. Now, those are 2 quite different sports coming on in. Obviously, one skiing, one snowboarding, but we're going to have the same 6 players on both sports, 3 of which specialize in the skiing and 3 of which specialize in the snowboarding. They'll be split into 2 groups, A and B, and both groups will compete on both sports. Now, as we get on through the day, we'll start off with Group A on the downhill skiing, but only two of the players from Group A will be able to progress into the finals for skiing, and the same with Group B. So at the end of the day, we will have 4 players for either sports moving on from their respective groups, and then we'll be deciding who is going to be taking home a ticket to the opening ceremony for the Pyongyang 2018 Olympics. Boys, that is one heck of a prize to be walking away with. We're literally playing Road to the Olympics, and this tournament is their Road to the Olympics.
Yeah, this is the final stop on that road for these competitors, and they know it. The energy on that stage is electric today. You could feel it whenever we were going down to talk to them in between some runs.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit to the players, a couple of them getting some butterflies stepping onto the stage, in front of a live audience, when these guys, they've been training in their bedrooms, This is a huge step up when you're getting onto the slope.
Yeah, if you have the lights shining in your eyes, fans fans cheering or hoping you crash. A lot of fans love to watch that, you know. They're a little bit on edge for this competition.
Absolutely. It's about time that we take a look at the players that are going to be competing across the course of today, starting off with Group A. Now, this will be the group that starts things off on the downhill skiing, but they will also go last when it comes to the snowboarding. We'll start off by talking about the German contender. It's Luktos.
Yeah, he's one of the newer players out of this group. Most of them have been playing since the beta. He came in a month or two after that, but don't let that hold him back. He absolutely loves these speed events, and he's been setting some pretty good times on the downhill runs.
Yeah, absolutely, and we expect good times coming out from all of these players. But the next in Group A is going to be Obson, the Dutch player, coming in.
Yes, Obson, he is ready for the downhill competition. He is ready to take his speed and show us what he can do. He is calm, collected, and he can focus easily in front of a crowd, so I think we're going to see some great things from him.
Absolutely, and then our final North American player here in Group A is going to be Cinematic.
Yeah, he's looking more towards competing in the slopestyle competition. That's his specialty, but that might play in his favor here since he's going to take all the risks he can to try and beat the other two.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll dig into that topic in a little bit as well, how the two different styles, the two different events are going to kind of go head-to-head, and because they're different styles, maybe we'll see some quirky stuff coming out. Let's take a look at Group B as well, though. The other half of our contenders coming on in, starting off with Snix up at the top there. He's going to be coming in strong from Norway.
So we're starting off with Snix. He is a high-score hunter. He is a competitor at heart, and he always loves to go in every single night and find the high scores that he has lost through the day and reclaim them as his own.
Yeah, absolutely. Wanting to top those leaderboards. We'll see if he can top the leaderboard here on the stage. Next, our North American player is Bone Crusher, currently holding the best time in the world at downhill.
Yeah, he's holding the best time at 1 minute 55 seconds and about 4/10 of a second after that. He came in originally as a wingsuit player, but he set all of the world records on that. He's used to getting as close as he can to the edge without going overboard and setting record times.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a speed demon. That
Yeah.
has to be said about this player. He's going to be coming in strong. And finally, we round out the group with another Norwegian player. It's going to be Eseba down at the bottom, stepping forward.
Right, and Eseba is a wild card for this competition, but don't let that fool you because he's a live stream hunter as well. So much like Snix, he will find the live streams that Steepp is doing online, and he will go and compete against the developers and against the special guests that they have in those streams to try to beat their runs in front of the world that's watching.
The ultimate stream sniper coming on, and we'll have to see whether he can snipe the other players as they get onto the slopes. It's about time that we meet the players, so I'm going to pass it back down to Matt Andrews on the stage to meet our 6 contenders.
Thank you, Mitch, Nick, and Joe. Yes, indeed. Great information about all of those, but now we need to meet them in person. Please welcome the competitors for the Steepp Road to the Olympics Grand Final.
I'm very comfortable with my feelings today and very comfortable in my play style.
Luktos representing Germany, a relative newcomer, but he finished on top in the slalom. He is David Scheibert.
Competition to me means I have to practice a lot if I want to win, and I'm going to be in my game to win it.
Eseba here from Norway. His focus on strategy has won him many tournaments. He is Sebastian Botstad.
Competition for me is striving for the top spot and not giving up along the way.
Obson from the Netherlands, one of the sharpest competitive racers we've ever seen. He is Dan Veldhuis.
Of course, nothing else matters than the first place. Second place is nothing. It doesn't matter.
He only wants first place. He qualified in first place. Bone Crusher from the USA. He is Alexander Hirschberger.
Competition means to me is working hard and trying to prove yourself to the rest of the world.
Cinematic, also representing the United States of America, won several championships, Jason Simay.
It's something I've been practicing for a long time, and I'm hoping to going for that gold and winning that trip to Pyeongchang in February.
Snicks completing our lineup, a well-known competitive snowboarder. He's representing Norway, and he is Robin Westingen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our competitors for the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Final. Two events await us, slopestyle later on, but we're going to get things started on the slopes with downhill. Let's go back to Joe, Mitch, and Nick and get into the action.
You're absolutely right, Matt. We are going to be kicking things off with the downhill skiing. So very fast, very high octane action. It's going to be kicking to your screens in just a few minutes. We'll be starting off with Group A. But let's talk about downhill as a sport first. Let's figure out where we stand. What are we anticipating seeing on the screens as we jump onto the slope?
You're going to see people try to get as close to these gates as possible as they're going around corners. But at the same time, they don't want to take the biggest risk possible, because if they hit that gate, they're out of the competition, and it's one and done for these runs.
There are also 6 jumps during this downhill course, and every single one of them has a very specific spot on it that will give you the least amount of airtime, which is crucial for your fastest run, because you want those skis on the snow as much as possible.
You certainly will want to be getting as much speed as possible, but also it's got to be controlled, right? Can't go off on those corners. Let's remember that this is a one-run game. You cannot afford to bail on this one. If you get a do not finish, you could be out of the competition. If there's multiple do not finishes, the person who got furthest down the track will be the one moving on into the next round. But a single run, that's a lot of pressure on these guys' shoulders. And there's kind of a big question of how much do you want to risk pushing for the best possible time if it makes your if it makes your run that much more dangerous?
Yeah, it's also huge where you are in the lineup. If you're second and third, you get to see if someone doesn't finish or if they don't go as fast as you normally go. So then they know they can play it a little bit more safe. But if the other times are great, they're going to have to push themselves.
It's going to be an interesting game of cat and mouse between these competitors in their separate groups to see who pushes further first. So it will be interesting to see who does take that first step in the qualifying runs. We might not see anybody push until we get to the finals.
All right, we'll have to see. It could be a safe first run, but it's time that we found out for ourselves. Let's take a look at Group A once again as we kick off our downhill skiing. It is going to be Luktos starting things off. The German contender will be stepping up to the slope first. So guys, talk to me a little bit about Luktos. What are we expecting out of the German contender here?
He's actually been in several competitions before in video games, so I don't think he'll be fazed by the audience or the whole setting, and he's going to be pretty calm going down the hills, so he might be able to set a great time on this.
Absolutely, but he's definitely sort of an outsider when it comes to the Steep community. He's definitely the one that's newest to the game and to the community.
Correct, but as Mitch said before, he is a competitor, so he knows what is expected of him when he is supposed to perform, so he should have no problem hanging with the big dogs out there.
Absolutely. We also have Obson in the group. He'll be going second down the slope. Can you give me a bit of an overview of what we expect to see out of Obson coming onto the slope?
Yeah, Obson also loves these time events. He actually has 50 world records that are in the game, which is crazy considering how many challenges there actually are. So he's going to be pretty competitive in this event too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you expect all of them to be competitive coming on in. And then finally, we'll have Cinematic to round out the group. Now, obviously, Cinematic is a slopestyle player coming in. He was the wild card from North America as well. Are we expecting him to... how would you expect him to play the downhill, considering that's not the sport that he's here to really overperform at?
He's been going back and forth on whether or not he wants to push or if he wants to stay on slopestyle. I think it's going to be in the moment of what he decides to do, but I don't see him backing down from the challenge, and I really see him being a viable competitor for the top spot.
This is definitely the group that we expect to see probably the best times coming out from in the first round, purely because there are 2 guys in this group that are looking for downhill scores. They're looking for the medal in downhill, whereas obviously we only have 1 for the slopestyle. In the other group, it's the other way around, so 2 slopestyle players.
Right, and that second group will come up later, but we do have Bone Crusher, who is the world record holder for this event. So it will be interesting. Although he is in a group with 2 slopestyle competitors, he will be the one that our eyes will be focused on him.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be 4 players coming on forward out of the 6 in both groups that are going to be going into the final. So everybody is going to be going against the best by the end of the day. And let's talk about that world record for a second. Bone Crusher, one of the guys on stage, holds that world record. Every single player here today is going to want to try and knock him off his pedestal.
Absolutely. I mean, if they can crush the world record and beat him in his own event, he's going to have to look them in the eye at the end of the day and realize he's going to go back home and try and get that record right back from them.
Absolutely.
It is going to be a challenge for competitors to beat Bone Crusher, in my opinion, because unlike other competitors, he actually records every single practice run that he completes and then goes back and watches it, reviews his footage, and takes notes to the point where he now knows that at any part of the track, he knows the seconds that he could lose if he picks the wrong run. So it's going to be a mental game. Along with Obzen and Lactose, they also know this track. So it's going to be difficult if they take the wrong run or they hit a jump incorrectly, how they should get back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the mentality coming on in. And I want to talk a little bit as well about how this is actually the first live Steep Championship, right? This is going to be a huge set of games for these guys. And without further ado, I think it's about time that we start to see these guys jumping on into the game. We're going to be starting with Lactose. I'm going to pass it over to my 2 wonderful commentators on my left. Please, guys, take it away.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, so I believe Lactose is getting ready, putting his headphones on. Now, he opted not to have his own personal music. You will see some of the competitors will have other wires hanging down from the side to their faces to focus so they don't hear anything out in that studio. So here we go. Lactose is beginning his run.
Yeah, it's awesome to see they get to wear their country's kits on their body, too. They're wearing the German flag since he comes from there. And as you see the riders going down the hill here, they're allowed to go outside of those blue lines on the track as long as they come back in and make it in between those gates. They found out that they can shave seconds, several seconds off of their runs just by doing that.
Now that first jump was a little long for Lactose. Let's see if he can clean up those jumps, as that can determine 2 or 3 seconds for his time. Those jumps are nothing to they're nothing to forget about.
Yeah, he's staying a little bit away from those flags for right now, but all he has to do is make it through to the final. So 2 out of the 3, those are pretty good odds. As long as you play it just a little bit on the safe side, you might be able to find. Got pretty fast there, though. He almost got close to that flag on the left-hand side.
Lost a little bit of time after that secondary red gate, now coming into another fast part of the track. The last stretch of this track is the fastest and the hardest to control. That was a beautiful jump there, just clipping the quietest jump that he could.
Yeah, once you get further downhill, after this jump, the pace really picks up, the turns become tight. That's where your preparation comes into play. You have to practice and know the corners and turns you are making before you can even see them. So you can see he knows he has to make this right turn coming up here. He'll be ready for the bottom half of the course, about 20 seconds left in this run. See if he can get close to that world record time. But as these guys have been practicing over the past 2 days here in the studio, they've been only 4 seconds apart, separating all 6 of the riders. So even the ones that don't specialize in this event, they have a chance at winning it.
Now Lactose is also using a specialized controller, an analog stick that has a longer stem on it so that he can get better control. And it looks like he's gonna finish just under 2 minutes. Not a terrible run, but we might see some faster times. We're not sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the slower times that we've seen over the past weekend, but everyone is going to be playing it a little bit on the safe side here in this competition. Correct. So we'll see what happens next. Obzen is another one of the downhill specialists, so he will be taking his run.
It's always intense to see that last leg of that track because it is pure speed. There are not technical corners. There's no tight bends. It is as fast as you can go to get that run perfect. And I believe Obzen is ready to go. Yes, all right, here we go for Obzen. Coming in close, you can see his avatar. Once the avatar gets close to those gates, he's actually going to punch it with his hand, and you'll be able to hear that. That will not mess up the riders. That means that that turn was as perfect and as close as it could be, just like that last one we saw.
Yeah, he's sticking pretty close to the flags, actually. It looks like he's going to try and get one of the better times here in this first heat.
Yeah, he is very confident in his abilities on this course. He has been practicing it for hours upon hours before he showed up, and they have been so focused to the point when we wanted to actually go down on the stage, they would completely ignore us, wouldn't look at us because they wanted more time on this track.
Yeah, and after that first checkpoint there, he is 0.6 of a second behind Luktos on this run, but that's not necessarily too important at the beginning of this. As long as he can maintain speed at the bottom of the course, he can easily take out that time.
He's been keeping his lines very clean. This is a very impressive run. I'm excited to see his times if he can just shave. And yes, the second gate, it looks like he is now ahead of Luktos. Let's see if he can hold this lead.
He's now got the opposite, pretty much 0.6 of a lead over on Luktos. So he just has one more split time to cross through, and that's when we can make our final guess whether or not he's going to finish ahead of Luktos.
Now coming down to the fast part of the track, keeping it very clean through this long right turn with a quick cutting left into the second to last jump.
That is always the trouble one for me. I always take the wrong turn going off the jump, so they're always preparing. He knows that's a left turn coming up, where exactly he needs to hit that jump so he can maintain that speed.
Right. Doing very well on that sharp right. You're always going to lose some speed on that one. The final jump, which you can do nothing about the air time, but he's going to come in at 158. Not terrible.
No, and that puts him through to the final round of downhill, since he will finish in the top 2 out of his group. So he must be thrilled. This is his event, and he just proved it right there. So we are going to have one more rider up in Group A, which is Cinematic, and this isn't his event. But if he can beat Luktos' time, then he's going to move on instead.
Correct. So the pressure is now on for Cinematic to perform at his highest caliber. Coming in wonderfully with that first blue gate. Now into the first left-hand turn, playing it very close to those poles.
Yeah, as we said, this isn't his specialty event, so he's going to be trying to break those times just to prove that he can be a competitor in both of these.
A little too much hang time on that jump that we just saw, but he can make it up if he keeps himself tight to these gates.
All right, first split time should be coming up here in just a second. We'll see what sort of pace he's on.
Oh, just a little wide on that turn. Now, it is important that he doesn't click his analog stick too much to try to recorrect with micro movements, because that will also slow you down. But it looks like he's doing fine. Speed is not an issue for Cinematic here.
It looked like he was going off track on that hill, but that might have been his strategy. He almost never left the ground on that jump. Put him that 1/10 of a second ahead of the current leader, Obson. So we'll see how he can maintain the speed. And now he is just behind him at 0.6 of a second. So it's going to come down to this final end of the race.
We might be looking at a sleeper competitor here.
He could be.
He might have been holding back up until this very point, but we'll have to see. Oh, lost time there. Let's see if he can make it back up in the second half, the back half of this track.
All right, he's coming down to the final section that we like to call it here, the final 20 seconds. Just a few turns left. We get one more split time. 0.6 again, 6:46. It's going to be extremely close. It's almost going to be right on the line. Could be down to the thousandth of a second.
This is going to have to be a perfect back half of the track. This is the speed portion. And let's see if he can perfect his run here at the very end. A wonderful run for a player who says that slopestyle is his main competition.
And I think he's going to, it's going to be extremely
close.
There was 2 1:59 finishes right there. So we're going to have to wait for that final result to see who actually made it through.
Right, that was a wonderful run for Cinematic. Again, a person who said that he is a slopestyle specific competitor, pulling out a wonderful run.
Yeah, crazy to see just how competitive they are.
For a wild card position, that was a wonderful run. It was fun to watch because, again, you don't know what they're going to do, and it looks like as the wild card slopestyle specific, he kind of pushed as hard as he could there.
Yeah, he went all out on that, and actually they're still off of the record time. They're playing it a little bit on the safe side, but they're all extremely close. These players are here for a reason. They're the top 6 players in the world.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see the final competitors in the second run to see how hard they push it. So we're going to go with the winner of Group A. Matt, you have the winner with you.
I do, Mitch and Nick. Obson, congratulations. You're the first person through to our final, then winning Group A in our downhill event. That feels good.
Very good, very good. At the start, during the first split times, I was a little behind, so I thought, okay, I got to take a little bit more risk because otherwise I would be way behind. So I tried to cut those flags a little bit more, and it turned out well.
You were 0.6 down in that first section and then 0.6 up in the second one. All you had to do was come second out of 3 people to get through. So if you beat, the first racer, Luctos, that was enough. But you still wanted to go through as top of that group.
Yeah. I wanted to finish first. Yeah. No questions asked.
So we will see you in our downhill final, but while I've got you, Obs, and we're going to be having slopestyle later on, you're going to be competing in that as well. I just want to ask you how you're feeling about that one.
I'm feeling not that confident about slopestyle. It's not my strong suit. I got a run figured out, which is a little risky, so I will try to do my best.
Is risk a thing for you, or do you want to throw all the risk at it and go out in glory?
Well, with this slopestyle, I really have to put up all the risk because these other guys are so good, and yeah, if I want to have a chance, I have to be risky.
Well, we will look forward to seeing your slopestyle run, but before that, we'll see Obsen in our downhill final. Let's go back to Mitch and Nick and go into Group B.
All right, we're going to be jumping into Group B next. So very excited to see what the times are going to be coming out from Group B. Definitely Group A, quite a safe group, it has to be said. A couple of the scores in the 59s there, so not really pushing to try and break that world record, but you expect to see that later on in the day once they move on to the finals.
Right. As we just heard Obsen say, he is definitely going to be pushing and looking, and I think his runs might be clean enough that he'll be able to compete for the top spot.
Yeah, and here we go, the results. Cinematic actually made it through there. It looks like
wow.
three hundredths of a second or 30 hundredths of a second. That's
so Luctos not making it through.
Yeah.
So that's going to be unfortunate for him as he was gunning for the downhill. So interestingly, one of our slopestyle contenders already stepping up to the plate and showing that they're not just a one-trick pony coming on in here.
There's a reason we call them wild cards. You have no idea what they're going to bring to the table, but you always know it's going to be enjoyable.
All right, so we have 2 of our contenders that will be moving to the finals for downhill later. Let's take a look at what's going to be happening here in Group B now, the other half of the bracket. We're going to be starting off with Snicks coming in. Now, Snicks is an interesting one because theoretically he's here for slopestyle, right? But actually, when he qualified, that was via slalom, which is quite a similar event to the downhill that we're watching right now.
Yeah, he actually set the world record time on the slalom at 50 seconds. It was insane just to watch the video of that run. Looks almost impossible, but he is good at both events, and he has almost 80 world records in the game, so you know he's competitive.
There's definitely a couple of people who have been saying to me that if anyone has the potential to win both events, Snicks is maybe the guy to watch.
Right, which is absolutely a possibility. We could just be seeing one winner for both events, and very well, Snicks could be that person. I joked when I saw his qualifying runs on slalom that I thought he was a robot. Until I physically saw him in person, I thought the kid was a robot.
Yeah, and I think, he can just absolutely do this.
All right, we'll see if he's going to be able to. Obviously, also in the group, we've got Bone Crusher currently holding the world record for this run at 1 minute and 55 seconds. That's what, 3 full seconds ahead of any of the times we've seen here today so far. But like we said, Group A, we're playing it safe so far. Are we expecting Bone Crusher to have a fairly safe run here as well, or do you expect him to try and kind of please the crowd a little bit?
He has 2 very specific runs calculated for these events. He has a safe run, and then he has an all-out run. So he is already very confident that he will be making it to the final. But again, you have Snicks and Eseba, and as we've seen, a slopestyle specific wild card, just like Cinematic, Eseba could do this.
Yeah, and this time he's going to be coming in strong. Like you said, he's looking for the slopestyle, but we've already seen that anything can happen here. These guys, they play the game a lot. It's not like the game is so different that it's impossible to play 2 of the spots. So
yeah, just one missed gate, or Eseba's playing in last place too. He's the last one to go, so he knows the times that other people are throwing down, and he knows what he's comfortable with. He knows the times that he can perform, so he's at an advantage in that spot.
All right, we'll see if he's going to be able to perform as we get on into the slopes. It's time to start off, though. We're going to be jumping into Snick's first run.
Awesome, here we go. So he is a very fast player. As we mentioned, slalom, he's used to getting as close to those gates as possible. Set a world record on slalom, you're turning way before you're even going through those pulls, so you just have to trust yourself.
It is a lot of memorization to be that good at slalom because it is such a fast course, but downhill is the same. You have to have every single line prepared and memorized before you're going into it. You can't just go blind, and you can see that he is further focusing with those headphones in. with no game audio. So here we go. This is Snicks.
Yeah, he is locked in on this race and going extremely fast so far. Full tuck position, and he's going to take this first jump. Got pretty high on that one, actually, yeah. And as you see, that's almost like the screen goes black for a second. That means you had a rough landing. That actually does affect your speed.
Right, so here he comes into a hard left turn, getting pretty close to that gate. And it looks like he is on his run. You can see most competitors, yes, are taking that far left turn there. So that might be a trick that we haven't noticed up until this point.
Yeah, they may have all been holding that back in the practice rounds, and when we watched them train, they may have all had that secret in the back of their minds, but they wanted to see who was going to reveal it first before it actually came out of the bag. So looks like a lot of them are going to be using that trick to shave a second off their time.
Snicks, I know, will be shaking in his boots as he watches Bone Crusher's run following his, but he is trying to set the precedent and set the bar high for the world record holder coming directly after him.
That was another good jump right there. His times are doing pretty consistent. He's coming into the next jump before he transitions into the bottom half of this race.
These are all seeming like very long jumps, but potentially, he could potentially have fine times with the way that he is tucking so close into these gates.
Yeah, all of the people in this group, even though they prefer slopestyle, they're all competitive on these timed events as well. It's just they do love the trick events a little more. He's coming into this final section.
He's really going to have to book it now. This is the speed section, but he is looking a little slow on time. We'll have to see.
Here we go. Looks like he's
No, excuse me. He's going to have
the fastest time so far today, 1:57.
Wow, that was a wonderful run. Yeah. And you can see no emotion on him. He is focused and locked into this competition until the very end.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter that he was faster than everyone else that went so far. It's the other two people behind them that will really be the impact on whether he makes it through this event or not.
Right, and now we're getting ready for the person that we should all be watching, the world record holder for downhill in steep, Bone Crusher, is ready for his run.
He's got his music in. He's all zoned out, focusing right on the game. And this is going to be a very impressive run to watch.
I have never heard somebody study video games as hard as Bone Crusher has leading up to this event. He was originally a wingsuiter and a rocket wingsuiter in the game. So he does love speed and he's used to quick turns and ducks and dodges, but this is a completely different event.
Yeah, and he did get into a bunch of battles over his world records in wingsuit. He would set a record and then a day later someone else took it. He would watch that person's video and find out exactly what they did and how he could do just that little bit better.
Now you can see Bone Crusher coming into that jump there, just clipping the edge of the blue paint. He knows exactly where he needs to be, and that was a textbook jump.
Yes, he's also about 0.2 of a second ahead of Snicks so far. So he just has to keep up this pace and he can actually make it through to the final, which of course everyone's hoping. I do want to see a world record shattered today, and that would happen in the finals when every rider here is pushing their absolute hardest.
These men know that they are on the world stage and that everyone who loves these events is watching. So there is added pressure. The community in Steep is so connected and they're all so close that I'm sure these guys will be talking to community members who will watch this, and they'll be getting some harsh but friendly criticism.
Yeah, these are all players that have known each other from different groups, and they've played with each other pretty much since the game has come out, so they recognize each other before. They're all friends, but at the same time, they are competing head-to-head.
Oh, look at that. Snicks has a faster run time. Bone Crusher is falling a tad behind.
Do you think maybe he played this one too safe, or was it just maybe a mistake right in the beginning that kind of cost him this?
I'm not sure. I will be interested to ask him later on what happened.
Well, we'll see. He's coming down to the final section, 157, 158. So he did pretty much on par as the first group once again, but slower than Snicks.
Right, but again, you can see the disappointment in Bone Crusher's face. He clearly did not do what he wanted to do on that run. Let's hope, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, he has to sit and watch. Hope that Iseba can't take that score. But
he is not happy sitting in that chair.
Again, though, Iseba, he loves slopestyle, so we'll see. But he is at the advantage that he does know his times that are up in this game.
Right. So Seba is getting ready for his run, another slope-style specific runner. But as we've seen, the two slope-style competitors have had the best runs.
I think it is that case of they don't care as much about this event, so they're going all out, because if they mess up, they still have their fault, the event that they're stronger at. Now, as we watch this one, we'll be seeing...
Early on, Seba is done. He does not qualify. He does not go on. Wow.
Wow, Bone Crusher really got saved right there. He is going to make it to his event, and you know that he is going to set a much better time in the final.
Bone Crusher is coming out of that one. You can see him grabbing his chest there. His heart had to be pounding out of his chest.
I know, mine was just watching that.
But again, you know, two wonderful rides, and another slopestyle competitor is pushing the downhill specifics.
Yeah, only it's 2 and 2, 2 downhill, 2 slopestyle that are going to move on to the finals of this. So it'll be very interesting to see the strategies going on in that event.
Right.
So I know that's the times we got. 157 was the best time we saw with Snicks going so far. Still 3 seconds off of the current world record in downhill, but we are going to go down with the winner of Group B, so I'll send it on the mat.
Snicks is here with me on the stage. We call you a slopestyle guy. We think of you as one of our major, maybe even our favorite slopestyle competitors, but you've just put in the best time out of everybody on the downhill.
It's probably because I can go more risky, because I obviously don't care as much about downhill. It's not what I'm aiming to do, so I'm just going all out, and I took some more risks than others.
It paid off. Worked out really well for you. It looked on the upper sections like maybe it was you were taking risks and you were going really quickly, but you've managed to put in that brilliant time over everyone. So now when you go to the downhill final, you could get your ticket secured to the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, that would be awesome, but I don't have so much hopes against people like Obscene. It's might be too fast.
Well, you got a much better time than he did, but behind you, of course, Bone Crusher in Group B as well. That looked heartbreaking for him as he thought he might not be there, but he'll be in the final alongside you. And then we will have our slope-style competition, and we are expecting a strong showing from you in that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get a good run. I might be a little bit upset if I don't, but at least I got to the finals on the downhill, so.
It's fair enough to be upset. You want to win this thing, right? The Olympic Winter Games, Pyeongchang 2018. You'd like to go?
Of course, yeah.
Well, let's see if we find you there. The downhill final, the winner of Group B. Congratulations, Snicks. Let's go back to our casters. That's our first round of the downhill competition finished. We'll get into some slope-style action before we bring you the final of that.
We certainly will, Matt. We're going to be jumping on into the slopestyle. Snicks in the interview there saying, as they move on into the finals, he's expecting Obscene's next time to be obscene. So curious to see what the expectation is there, but we've got to talk about Bone Crusher there. The relief on his face when we saw the DNF coming out from our Norwegian player there. That, honestly, the devastation to start off with, and then afterwards, the relief on his face once we saw that DNF come on through was a roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah, that's something in Steep. Normally in the competitions, you have a whole week to just train on the run. You get several tries at it, but in this live competition, as we mentioned, on the stage with the crowd, everything going on, he knew that he had a good competitor behind him. It's just he managed to hit a gate right off of the beginning.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how Bone Crusher goes into the finals now, knowing that there might be other people that might, or I mean, obviously they're gunning for his position, and they can obviously do it. So it'll be interesting to see how this group competes in the finals.
You're absolutely right. I mean, Snicks managing to get the best time out of everyone so far, but like he said in his interview, he's got the opportunity to take those earlier risks, and we expect more risks to be coming on through as we head towards the finals. These are some of the highlights coming through from what we saw here. And actually, let's talk about the fact that Cinematic actually managing to make it on through. Another one of the slopestyle players making it into the finals.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the pressure was off him in his own mind. He didn't really expect to have that chance, so he just went for it. He was nice and calm, managed to make it through.
Yeah, as a true competitor, Cinematic is no stranger to stepping up his game whenever the spotlight is on him, and clearly we saw that. That run was super clean. Obscene, of course, another wonderful run. This is his course. He understands it. He knows every single turn.
Yeah, he's a downhill expert, as some of the other players are, so he was very excited to do this event. He was looking great the entire time.
And one thing that's very important to mention here is, obviously it says Obs in third place there, as that was the third best time out of those qualified for the final, but your time in the first round will not affect who wins the tournament. All it does is get you to the final. It's the run that you get during the final that will actually impact your tournament score.
Yeah, so these guys will be going all out in that final round, especially Bone Crusher. He was a little shaken there, but at the same time, he might have to hold back a little bit. He knows that, you know, if he hits a gate, then he's completely done.
Right. It's either going to be he might play it safe, or he might go all out. That might not have been. He might have thought that he had more room to play with, and clearly the competition told him no.
And then, of course, first place we had Snicks interviewing everyone. He was the player everyone was most afraid of winning both events and having a clean sweep of this entire Grand Finals. Kind of proved it right there with his 1 minute 57 second, beat everyone else by a second in the qualifiers.
And I mean, that's a tall statement to walk on into the first round and just kind of take it as a sweepstake of everyone, just say, hey, I'm here to stay. Even if I'm looking towards the slopestyle, I'm still going to put a damn good performance on in the first round. Now, it is about time that we move on and start to talk about our slopestyle as well. This time, we're going to be kicking things off with Group B, but let's take a little bit of a look at what slopestyle is all about, because this is quite a different event to what we've been seeing on the downhill there.
And this one is completely the opposite. You'll see players actually going as slow as they can on slopestyle here. They get the most points for spending most time on the rails, doing grabs on and off, and then they'll be doing lots of grabs as they're flipping through the air.
Right, you will see the competitors who have been practicing this more so than downhill. You will see a repeated run over and over again, and that run, if they can complete it in actually the slowest amount of time, spending the most time on those rails, and then finishing with those 3 huge kickers at the end, if they can get the most air, the longest time on the rails, they're going to maximize those scores on one specific run.
And that's the key thing, isn't it? It's like, it's not just about having a tight line. It's not about having the perfect line in terms of where you go. It's about maximizing the time that you have on the line that you choose and making sure that you can keep that 4 times multiplier. Let's bear in mind, if you wipe out in downhill, obviously you get a do not finish. If you wipe out here as well, you've got that multiplier to lose. Also, you won't be able to get as much of a score. It's so important to get every single trick out. And an important factor is you get exactly 20 tricks. So you'll see people kind of padding their scores in between the different features as well.
Yeah, they have to use all 20 tricks because use those free points. So they'll be doing smaller tricks in between those events to just try and get the best score.
It's going to be very exciting seeing the other competitors who have not been practicing as hard in slopestyle. I know for sure there are a couple guys down there that are prepared to just give us a very stylish run, to make something look the best that it can, so I'm excited to see what they have to offer.
I'm incredibly excited for that. Let's take a look at Group B, as we're going to be starting off with B this time around. Obviously, they went second on downhill, so they're going first on slopestyle. Now, we do have 2 slopestyle contenders here in B. We're going to be starting off with Iseba. So, didn't have the greatest run on the downhill, it has to be said.
Right.
On like the 3rd gate, getting wiped out. Here on the slopestyle, this is what he's here for. This is what he's looking to put up a big number for.
Right, and like you just said, this is what he's here for. He was not worried about downhill because he knows that what he's going to do in slopestyle is going to be very impressive, and we're looking for a great run from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we also have Bone Crusher in the group. In downhill, you expect him to put up big scores. Obviously, a bit of an unfortunate score coming in. You could see that on his face, but now going over to slopestyle, he could be one of the contenders that maybe has a bit more of a stylish run and less focused on getting the maximum points.
Exactly. He also has no real pressure on him, but he does know the lines that the other players take. He is competitive in slopestyle as well, so it'll be exciting with the pressure off of him a little bit to see if he actually can get a good score.
Absolutely. And then the 3rd player in Group B, just very quickly, I want to talk about Snicks, because he set the best time for downhill, but now he's going into slopestyle, which is the event he's been preparing for.
Right. He is ready.
He certainly is. Yeah. Well, it's about time that we jump on to the games anyway, so I'm going to pass it back over to you guys. We're going to be starting with Iseba as we head on into the slopestyle.
Yep, let's get right to it. Iseba, I believe, is going to be getting ready here. Mitch, what have you been seeing from Seba's practice runs in the past couple days?
Seba can actually throw down pretty big scores in this. His record is 53,000. That puts him right in the middle of the pack compared to everyone else. And you see right there when he turns around, he's trying to go as slow as possible. But if you just put on the brakes and stop in slopestyle, your run is over. So instead, some of these players turn up the hill and then go back down because that doesn't cancel their run. There's one of those mini tricks you can see where they do some small flips. He misses that rail though. That's really going to cost him. That second rail too.
Now he maintains, he just got to the ×4 multiplier, which is going to be good. Coming in with speed here, kind of bypassing a lot of these rails with more speed than we've been seeing, just grabbing the edge of that cannon rail here. Now he is going to choose to go to the C rail, which is leading onto the final big box, which will kick him into the 3 final jumps.
Yeah, here's where you'll see the big tricks coming out on these final 3 jumps. Not unusual to see a triple or a quadruple right there, a triple rodeo. All of them have to have grabs. That's where you'll get the most points. Didn't get much height off of that jump though, so.
Hasn't been getting much height. Let's see if he can pull out 4 here. Yes, he's going to land it. A little rough on the landing, but they don't count that. Using all of his tricks. What do you think, Mitch?
I mean, he got 40,000 points right there, which isn't terrible, but compared to everyone else that's competing, it's going to be extremely close. You know, he is going to be watching both Bone Crusher and Snicks, who can score better. They have in training, but they are on the stage and the pressure is on, so we'll see exactly what happens.
Right, and I think Bone Crusher is getting ready to go here shortly, getting into the zone, trying to come back from his not as impressive downhill run. He wanted to look bigger and badder.
Yeah, this might be good for him though. I mean, it clears his head. He doesn't have to go right back into a second downhill run. Goes with an event that he can kind of have fun, but as you see, he knows the same strategies that the pros in slopestyle are using, and he might be able to move on to that one. He'll be in both events again at the end.
Coming in, making sure he's hitting this rail as slowly as he can, just landing on the edge of that rail.
That is the slowest rail we've seen so far today, so he's going to get huge points coming off of that second jump.
Now let's see, he's going to choose, yes, he's going to choose the cannon at the end. Coming in just on the edge of that rail, gonna drop down, making sure. We've been seeing some of the competitors having some trouble today, specifically landing on that cannon rail.
Yeah, it's sometimes tricky, you know, when you're going that slow, it is hard to control which rail you're going to land on next, but they are the professionals at this, so a lot of them will be making it. Here we go, he's gonna land this trick going into the final 3 jumps at 33,000. He's very close to Seba's run right there.
Pulling out a triple cork. That's going to be some big points for him.
Here we go. I think if he lands this, he might be in the clear. 41,000. Just has to play it somewhat safe on this jump, and he will move on. There we go. We saw 45,000 right there.
And he still has 5 tricks left, so you're going to see him mini trick his way to the final gate. And yeah, 45,000.
Yeah, he's extremely excited with that one. He is happy and he's elated. He gets to go to both of these events. So even if downhill doesn't work out, he still has that chance to go to the Olympics in his off event.
Right, right. He clearly looks very happy with that run, making up for the faults that he had in downhill. So let's see if he can push himself to the top here. Snicks is up next, and we're looking for a fantastic run from Snicks.
Yeah, in this event, he is extremely consistent. You will very much expect to see a score in 50,000 range. That's his safe range. 50,000 is his safe range. My expert range is 25,000. He can double what I can do. And his world record, of course, 57,800. That is unheard of, and here we go.
Putting up huge numbers, and when asked about his world record in slopestyle, he has said he does not believe that that is the most points that he can achieve on this course, which is just incredible to see.
Yeah.
He is flying high above all of the rest of the competition in this game. And you can clearly tell he is maximizing every single inch out of every part of his run.
There we go. And even when a player falls like that, if they stumble, as long as they don't completely fall down, it won't affect their points or their multipliers. So they'll be maximizing every flip they can get when they come off of these rails. And he will land on that pipe rail, that tricky one we've seen lots of players, and that is where everyone seems to head.
He came into that rail feature with a little more speed than I thought he was going to, but you can see him making up for that with his mini tricks. Coming into the C rail now, to the final box. The little lip at the end will give him just enough time to pull off one more nose grab before he heads into these big jumps.
He's looking safe in his score right now, of course, but he just has to land these final few jumps, 42,000.
On the first jump, he lands a quadruple rodeo.
And I think the triple rodeo right there. And he is safe at 46,000, but he's got 2 more tricks left just for some flair in this round. I told you, 52,000. He sees those scores, and there we go. One final celebration trick before he crosses the finish line.
This is him showing the competition that he is here for the medal.
Yeah, and that
he is here for first place. And he did not disappoint.
No one's surprised that he actually made it through that one at 52,000. So he is safe, and he, of course, is the one to beat when we go into the slopestyle finals.
Right, so I think we're going to... Are we throwing down to the stage?
All right,
no?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're ready with Matt down on the stage to talk to Snicks.
Nearly ready. Just getting a man off of his board. I remember you. Yeah, we've done this recently, haven't we? Smix, you're through to another final, 2 in one day.
Feels pretty good. Yeah. I'm ready for the finals.
We knew you were going to clock up a good score, 52,000. We call that your safe zone, don't we?
I mean, it was a relatively safe run, but you can't go as really that much safer because there's not much benefit to it. So.
And you've got to get the points to get it through, and it's going to be Bone Crusher from Group B going through with you as well. So 2 finals with the best time in downhill, and maybe we'll see when Group A are finished, maybe the best score in slopestyle. Your ticket to Pyeongchang is kind of within reach.
Yeah, it is very close. Hopefully I can grab my hands on one of them at least.
Let's see if it's one, maybe even both. Could be an absolutely fascinating day. Smix is through to the slopestyle final. Bone Crusher will go with you. Congratulations, Smix. Now it's Group A's turn.
It certainly will be Group A's turn. We see Smix living up to the reputation that he's built for himself right there. Not the most impressive score that we've seen across the whole weekend when we talk about the practices and things, but he didn't have to have that. Like when you look at the rest of the group scores, he could do that pretty comfortably. And we could take a look at the results. Unfortunate result coming out there from Isaba at the end of the day. Didn't manage to get a good result in the slopestyle, and then unfortunately, bottom of the table on slopestyle. Didn't have a good result on the downhill either.
No, it was that rail that he could not land on right at the beginning of his thing that took out almost all of those points. He could have gotten those 6,000 points, and it could have been a lot closer.
Right.
Yeah, and it's the multiplier that hurt as well. He wasn't able to build up that 4 times multiplier as quickly as he needed to, and after that point, you don't have enough time during the rest of the slope to catch back up to that early mistake.
This is one of those events where everyone is a professional and that multiplier matters. If you don't get it, it's impossible to catch up to them. So,
and I know for a fact that Snicks is looking to beat that score. He is not going to be just okay with 52,000. His high score is 57, so we haven't even scratched the surface on what he could do.
I'm excited to see if someone can pull out a 60K across the course today. We'll have to wait and see. I don't want to put too much expectation on
it. Would be the first time ever, and I would love to be here to see it.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at Group B as we move on with the day. Over to the other side of our slopestyle coming on through. Now, our first player is going to be Cinematic. Now, he managed to make it through in the downhill, but he focuses on the slopestyle, so we're expecting big things out of the American player.
Absolutely. He's going to be going all out on slopestyle, and he is safe in the downhill too, so he already has that to rest back on, so we might see him try to go all out. And I think Snicks' score on that first run is within reach. He might try to one-up him in this preliminary round.
Absolutely. Second, we'll have Obson, who had a phenomenal score during the downhill, and we expect him to do even more in the downhill later. This is not his primary event, but you definitely expect him to do well regardless.
I'm sure that Obson is going to try to do the best he can, but I do know that he is going to want to show us what he can on the style side. Mm-hmm. He has said time and time again that he's not necessarily looking for the cleanest, the specific high-scoring run, but he will score a lot. We might see something different from him, so it's going to be exciting to see what he tries to pull out in his routine.
Absolutely. Now, we'll round out the group with Luktos. I want to talk about this guy because in the downhill, the event that he's actually looking to achieve on, he didn't make it into the final round, which means that it's very important now that he does a good job on this slope style, which is not the event he's been preparing for. It's not the event that he's strongest at, but he has to put up a good show here.
He does, but at the same time, he gets to go last in this group, so he gets to see the other two scores first. A couple people miss a rail or fall down and lose that multiplier. It could easily be within reach, even though it's not a specialty.
Absolutely. Well, it's about time that we jump on into Group B. We're going to be starting off with Cinematic, so I'm going to pass it back over to you guys to take away the slopestyle games.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, Cinematic getting ready for his run, and here we go. Coming in with some speed up to the first rail, but immediately halting himself to maximize his time on that rail, just like in Group B.
Yeah, he almost fell off that rail, too. He got pretty close to the edge. He's going to land that first jump, has the 3 times multiplier, has to get it up here on the next one, though. Came close to the edge, but he is slowing down.
I have to believe that he knows exactly what he's doing. It might look like he is faltering here and there, coming close to edges, just almost falling off of a rail, but I'd like to think that he knows exactly what he's doing, and he is not nervous down there during this run.
These players are all very calculated, and they might still be hiding those little tricks that give him the extra points. Landed extremely slow on that pipe, too, so he's going to be in a good position coming into these final areas. He knows how many flips he can do here to still have enough tricks left on this final section, so he is in a good position.
Right. I believe that this course takes a little more preparation than the downhill in the sense that you do have 20 tricks, and you can only do those, and once those are over, you finish the run and you're done.
Yeah,
so if you can't do a trick on the final hill, that's it. You won't get points on that quadruple rodeo or whatever you may do.
Yeah, there's lots to think about. You're focused on your grinds, you're focused on flips, grabs, landing right, and your trick management. Did it right there, 47,000. Loves to have some style going across the finish line. That puts him ahead of almost everyone except Snicks for right now, but he only has to worry about that in the final event because these scores won't matter in the finals.
Yeah, exactly. So up next, we're going to have Obson. And again, Obson is going to be, I believe he will be giving us a very stylish run, something fun to see.
Will be interesting.
Not that the fastest points, yes, and he has chosen to go a different path than the others. Coming in with a lot of speed, so some big air, some fast rails.
We're going to see some awesome trick style right there.
He's doing this for the fans. He wants them to be entertained and to be pleased with his run.
He's got some good tricks in here too. He knows, doesn't hit those
Misses
rails
the
right
rails.
There. This looks more at my speed whenever I'm playing slopestyle, but this is his trick that he loves. He was talking about this earlier. This transfer from the side ramp gets onto that last pipe and holds a nice double grab right there. He lands it too. That was a 1440 truck driver. You don't see competitors hold the truck driver grab, but it is very stylish.
Right, you will often see rodeos, nose grabs, tweaks, but here he just pulled off a quadruple backflip.
Right there, and he spun around right there.
Oh, beautiful.
Cork 540.
Beautiful for the eyes. He's going to finish with 8 tricks left, but I don't think he's bothered. That was a fun run to watch.
It was a fun run to watch. He just had fun with it. He's safe in the downhill, so all the pressure was off, and he just liked to have some style.
Yeah, so I believe we are ready for Luctos. I believe he's ready to go, preparing for his run.
Yeah, we're going to see if he can pull out the score. Remember, he is not a slopestyle, but with Obson only setting a 17,000, 18,000 score, that's easily beatable.
Right, and the pressure is on for him to perform because if he does not get one of the qualifying scores, he's done for the day.
Yeah, so he's really going to be trying right here to get as many points as possible.
Right. So we're getting Luctos ready for his slopestyle run. We just saw Obson. What do you think about his run? Obviously, it was a crowd pleaser. He wanted to have fun on that course.
You know, I always love to see some of the style tricks and different grabs in the game. Here we go. Luctos, as we mentioned, doesn't prefer this event, but he does know the route that the other people take, so he'll be sticking pretty close to it until he knows he makes it through into the slopestyle finals. Then he might have a little bit of fun with it since he knows he can't be safe.
Not coming out of that first feature with the biggest multiplier that he could, but it might be enough. We'll have to see for the rest of his run. Maximizing his time on those 2 rails, those step downs there. Very difficult if you come at those with speed because you're going to miss the distance when it steps down.
Yeah, it's also hard to get big flips and land on a rail. Just like that, it's pretty close, but he's got it. All he has to do is land this trick and he'll pretty much be safe to go through this.
Just on the edge of that cannon rail. Coming now into the final 2 rails before his big jumps. He's just going to miss. Oh, He's going to miss both of the rails.
Tried hard to get on. Third time's a charm, though, and he's got these final 3 jumps, maybe to show off some flair.
Right, with 4 tricks left, he has plenty of time to get his score where it needs to be and where he wants it to be. The ×4 multiplier is active, and here the final jump going to come out with, tries to go for a quadruple, but just misses it.
Doesn't affect him, though. He already made it through with his score. You don't have to. He's crossing the finish line right now, so that'll lock his score into place. That puts him through into the finals for slopestyle, so he's happy he can at least make it through for one event.
And you can see that little smile on Lactose's face as he realizes that he is moving onto the finals.
Yeah, that was extremely competitive. Not the highest scores that you would expect in slopestyle, and but you might see that in the next group coming up.
Right. And now these competitors who have made the finals are, I'm sure, a little nervous seeing what Snicks put out in the qualifying runs.
You have to be. I mean, you have to try as hard as possible. No one came close to him. I think 5,000 points was the closest that they have. But we have the interview with the winner of that round, so we'll send it down the mat.
Thank you, guys. Cinematic goes through from Group A as the winner of Group A in our slopestyle event. Happy with that?
Yeah, very happy. I was not too worried about that because I know they're both downhill. Yeah. Real worried about this next one. Snicks is a little too good.
Snicks is putting up big scores. He's also putting up really good times. We're going to see you in both of our finals. You'll go first in our downhill final based on their times from Group A's and B's and that. So how do you fancy stepping it up and winning the downhill?
Just going to be as risky as I can. Got no other option.
As risky as you can. You know there's a strong threat from the competitors, but also you're one of the top 6 in the world. That's why you're here. That's why you're at the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Final. So you can do it.
I'm going to try to.
Modest. Let's see what you've got. Downhill final and slopestyle finalist. Congratulations to you. We'll see you in both of those finals. Cinematic. Let's go back and revisit the action from Groups B and A in our slopestyle event.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff coming out from both groups there, and it does mean that we have our 4 contenders for both finals now, both slopestyle and for downhill as well. Now let's talk a little bit retrospectively about that slopestyle coming in. We can take a look at Group A's results at the end of the day. A pretty huge rift between each of those 3 results. Obviously, we see Cinematic right at the top, Jason Samay, doing an amazing job, putting up a good score. The other 2, obviously downhill specialists. So less of a performance, but we're going to see Lactose at least making it into the finals for one of the 2 events.
Right, and you could see by his modest smirk at the end of his run, even with that wipeout, he knows that he's safe. He knows what he needs to do now moving towards the finals. I think we're going to see a cleaner run from him moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You would hope to see some cleaner stuff coming out from these players. We should have some highlights from the slopestyle as well, because this was definitely the more stylish of the event. I want to talk a little bit about Snicks as well, because, you know, Cinematic just mentioned him in that interview. He is definitely a very terrifying contender moving on into the finals, especially for slopestyle, but also for the downhill as well. This guy seems to be an incredibly talented contender in both of the events.
Yeah, he practices and practices all the time, so he knows, and he can set these scores consistently, so he's going to provide a true challenge. All the players knew it at the beginning, and it's somewhat surprising to see him hold that all the way through the first rounds here.
Right, it has been difficult coming to this point and trying to gauge the competitors in their specific events, because Snicks, out of everyone, has kept all of his tricks in his bag, and he has not shared anything. No smirks, no poker face, or there is a poker face. He has not been giving any tells, so it has been interesting to see him just put on a clinic with the slopestyle contest.
Yeah, but Cinematic was pretty close to him, 47,000, and I don't think that was his best run he can put down. He knows he can score higher, and this is, hopefully he can do that.
Now also, it's going to be interesting to watch Cinematic and Snicks go head-to-head in the finals, because they have been friends through the games and through their different games together. So there's a bit of friendly competition as well as fighting for this first place.
And I think that's the same kind of across the board, these friendly rivalries between these players. You know, as you mentioned before, Steep is a fairly tight-knit community, so these players They've been against each other. They've been beating each other's high scores on the ladder, on the leaderboard. So now on this stage, they absolutely want to continue to shatter those records.
Yeah, both Cinematic and Snicks have known each other for 8 years, and they've been playing games constantly. And actually, Cinematic's record score is 54,000, which was higher than Snicks' score in that first round. So definitely possible for him to break that. So Snicks will have to step it up in the finals.
Absolutely. Well, let's start to talk about our downhill as we're going to be moving on into our finals here. We do have the scores from their qualifiers there on the screen, but the scores for those qualifiers are not going to impact the major scene here. It's all about the final run as we have our 4 contenders stepping on forward. Both Americans making it into the top 4 there.
Yeah, they were both pretty good on time. Bone Crusher there, even though he was worried in his group, he's second in downhill overall, and he can set a much better time. So they will be taking all these risks in the final round.
Yeah, and I think the key thing to bear in mind as we move towards our finals here is we've been talking about how when you're playing in the opposite event to what you're here for, you take a lot of risks. Here in the finals, it is all or nothing. You're playing for that ticket to the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics, right? This is everything for these guys. No more time for playing safe. This is absolute high-risk, high-reward gameplay.
Right, and they know that. But between them, they have easily over 120 world records throughout the game of Steep. So these are high competitors who know each other's names. They're not strangers to each other, and I think they know what each other is going to bring to the table here.
And what I'm interested to see is if we have some lines or some different angles for these corners that we have yet to see here today. I mean, earlier on we were seeing people taking one of the corners early on in the track a lot wider than we'd seen in practice. And I expect a couple of these players, they'll have a couple of other aces up their sleeves.
They definitely will, and this is it. One more race, and they could be at the Olympic opening ceremony. So all of the pressure is on, but at the same time, they can compete to win that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody here to win. I'm going to put you guys on the spot a little bit here.
Oh, boy.
Do you have a favorite coming on into the finals? I'm going to ask each of you, do you have someone that you feel is maybe ahead of the crowd or a couple of players that you feel like are the 2 top contenders here?
I think going into this event, I was very confident that Bone Crusher was going to be able to pull out, just like Snicks has been doing, he was going to be pulling out these wonderful runs, and not sure finishing his qualifying run if he's going to be able to keep up with Snicks. But with all of the preparation that he's been putting towards downhill, I think I would love to see him just blow away his old record and take home a new record and the gold.
All right, what about yourself, Mitch?
I don't know. It's going to be extremely close. You know, he was beat by Snicks in this round, but at the same time, as Nick mentioned, it is his event. But the pressure's on, and he was nervous in the first round. Snicks was pretty cool and calm. He might have a couple tricks up his sleeve, though. As we said, he puts his old practice runs side by side and compares the seconds frame by frame. So he probably does know some tricks that we haven't seen yet.
All right, well, we're going to be jumping on into Cinematic first. He's going to be the North American contender, specializing in that slope style, and we saw him do a surprisingly good run in the downhill to qualify for the finals. But now there's no more time for style here in the finals. This is all about pure results. And I'm excited to see whether Cinematic can pull that one off as we jump on into this one. It's about time that we got our finals for downhill underway. So once again, I'm going to pass it over to you two, and I'm going to let you take away with our finals.
Okay.
Right. This is going to be very exciting to see. Just 4 runs left. Maybe see a world record shattered right here, and you got the 2 best competitors at the end for that time. Cinematic, though, could easily do that. He's practiced this just as much.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the time. Cinematic is fighting for his ticket to the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics. This is the run. This is the final attempt to win this competition.
I also do expect him to take several risks in this, since this is his safer event. But at the same time, he was a little slow at the beginning there, and he is the first one to run, so he does not know the times to beat, but he is setting the pace for the others to go through.
Right, coming in with a nice run, a nice turn into that corner and then jump. Again, coming outside of that blue paint, which we have not been seeing this weekend, so it's interesting to see those tricks that they have been pulling out today, especially for the competitors that are coming up. Interesting to see what they do with those little tricks.
Yeah, 2 2 gates in a row right there. He's clipped with his shoulder, which is perfectly fine. So he is pushing it to the limit as he goes around these corners.
Coming in fast, making sure that every time he is straight, he has that stick pushed forward so his player is in the crouch. That will maximize his speed.
That was one of the best jumps on that section of the map, too, that we've seen so far today. So that was something other competitors weren't doing, going as close as they could to that gate.
Right, and he's trying to pull out the smoothest run that he can, and he's doing a very good job of it, getting so close to those gates. But as we saw with Iseba in the qualifiers, if you are just an inch, if you are just a few centimeters off, that's it.
And you're going so fast, it's a split decision. One mistake and it's completely over. Coming into the final downhill section, only a few turns left to go.
Maintaining control through these wide sweeping turns is very important for time. Coming into the final jump now.
Looks like he's pretty consistent with his last time that he set. Beat it by just a little bit, 158 this time. Last time 159, so improved by 1 second, but off of Snicks by another second from his first run. So
right, I'm sure his buddy Snicks is leaning over and looking at him from across the way, giving him a little smile now. Probably not the fastest run that Cinematic wanted to get, as he knows that Bone Crusher and Snicks are coming up next, not to mention Obson.
And here we go, this is the second rider. We've got Obson going down, who put down a 158 in the first run. And he wasn't taking as many risks either, so hopefully this is his event. Maybe he can be the sleeper that comes through and actually takes down that top time.
Little too much airtime on that jump, but he has come out of the gate like a bullet. He is firing down this mountain.
Here we go, he's gonna round this corner. Then we're gonna get to see these split times off of Cinematic, and that is very important. But is that good or is that bad as a player? You're seeing the person in front of you. The person who goes first just sets their time. They don't get that extra information. Is a little bit faster there, about half a second faster than Cinematic.
Right, and these competitors, I'm not sure if they have been using split times with their ghost times or with another player as they're training. So that might be another level of pressure that they have to overcome on this stage.
Yeah, they now know that they have to maintain their speed. He is ahead right now, but he also might be trying to do math in his head to see how much of a pace he could go on to.
2 green runs, he's looking great. It's never a nerve-wracking thing to see green on that screen.
Is just a little bit slower though, so he's slowed down in that section. Looks plenty of speed down here in the middle part.
Yes, so you can see that he is looking for the fastest run possible, coming into this fast secondary, the back part of the track, just getting as close to every single gate as he can, landing that jump beautifully, just enough time in the air.
Yeah, he's a full second ahead now, which actually puts him in contention with Snicks in that run, the guy everyone expects to win. It is going to come down almost to the second, maybe even a thousandth of a second for this final. He's just got 1 turn left, handled that excellently, and the jump, he is going to cross at 157.585, so right around the same as his last time.
Right, but again, he did get a faster time than Cinematic, so that puts him, well, that puts him in the lead as of now.
Yeah, and now the pressure's on for the last 2 riders that are going in the downhill event, so it'll be interesting to see if those times keep going more and more, or if one of them hits a gate if they're pushing too hard in this.
Right, and we're looking now at the 2 fastest men in the qualifying runs and through all of their practice runs. Bone Crusher is up now, looking to redeem himself from the... It wasn't a terrible run in the qualifying, but for his standards, I know he is cursing at himself and beating himself up for that run.
Yeah, hopefully he can just block all of that out. Once again, he's got the tunes going in his ears. He is focused. He is looking great as he goes through these flags. We'll see what the split times come out as, though, because if he sees some red, he's going to have to push even harder in the final section.
Right, not going as far out as some of the other competitors have been going on that right-hand turn.
Right there, you can see he's a little bit slower than the last rider, so he's going to have to push it even harder as he goes further down the hill.
Leaning into the computer screen now, you can see in the bottom right corner, he is as focused as you can get.
He is flying around these corners too. He actually has picked up the pace, and he's getting closer to these flags. Wait for the next time. This is going to be an extremely close one. And there he is. He's in the green. He's ahead by 0.3 of a second. So he's starting to creep up on one of the faster times that we've seen today.
Right, and you have to question if he knew that that first run and that first time was going to be slower. He might be planning all of this. He might know something that we don't.
Yeah, we'll see if he has any tricks up his sleeve in this final section. We're going to get another split time before he heads into the final section of this track. And he's a little bit behind. No, that's close, though. That's extremely close. It's all down to speed.
He could still do this, but he has to come out of this with a perfect run in the remainder of this track. As close to every single gate as he can.
And he's getting very close to those.
Wow.
Here comes the final turn. It is going to be a close call. I don't know what's going to happen.
Can he do it? Coming in close, and it looks like, yes, he is.
He is. He
standing up in celebration. Wow.
He is elated at that. He got under that 1:57, the first rider today to get under 1 minute 57 seconds with just one person left to go. But it is the person that everyone's worried could take both events.
Right. We still have not seen a world record run, but we haven't seen every competitor in the finals yet. Snicks is up next, and Snicks is definitely going to be looking to beat that world record. If he can get even a second faster, we might be looking at a new champion.
And that's the thing. He's going to be seeing the split times of Bone Crusher's run. So it is going to be crazy to see how far he can push it. Bone Crusher was close to those gates. He was getting, especially in the downhill when he knew he was behind, he got closer to those gates. Same thing's probably going to happen here with Snicks. He is a huge competitor. So we'll see what he can manage. He's just starting up, going down the hill.
Okay, here we go with Snicks. The fastest time in qualifiers.
Yes.
And the highest score in the slopestyle competition.
Yeah,
let's see what he can do here.
Held the record in the slalom, as you mentioned, the qualifiers. So
starting out with a rough landing there, that's going to dock a couple of milliseconds, but he might be able to make it back up.
Yeah, as we saw, the Bone Crusher made up a whole second after the first split time, so it is extremely possible as long as he can stay in contention. Very close to that gate right there. Here we're coming up with the first time to see how he's...
Oh no! Snicks wipes out on a gate early on in the track.
And that's it. Bone Crusher did what he came here to do, the favorite for the downhill event, and he managed to do it even after that shaky qualifying round.
Right. He came back, he fought, and he came into this competition as confident as he could. He knew. He said he knew that he was going to be winning this, and clearly he showed up.
Yeah, he did. He was able to handle that pressure in the finals, which is insane. The music may have helped him out a bit, but he didn't set the record time, but 1:56, that's the highest time we've seen this weekend here at the event.
So I believe that Matt is ready with Bone Crusher down on the stage. So
it's crazy, though. 1:56. Can you believe that? All right, so we'll send it down to Matt on the stage to interview Bone Crusher, the winner of the downhill finals.
Bone Crusher. That's a bit of an emotional journey for you, isn't it? We've seen you go from head in your hands, you don't think you're even in the downhill final, to winning the downhill final and going to Pyeongchang. How does that feel?
Oh my gosh, I am shaking so hard right now. It was fantastic. I can't believe I pulled that run out at the end.
This is a fast tournament as well. You get one go at that sort of qualifier for the finals, and then you do the finals a few minutes later, and in between you have to do slopestyle. You've gone from, like this to on your feet, because you got it done, but you only just got it done right at the end.
Just barely, but yeah, that's what counts.
That's all you need to do. Get it done somewhere on a piece, and that was an amazing run. Were you really right at the end and thinking, I don't know if I've got it, I don't know if I've got it?
Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. I knew that coming into the last jump, I was going to have a decent time, but I just wanted to make sure that, and as soon as I broke the 1:57, I don't have words.
56. Yeah. Don't undo yourself. 56.996 gets it done, and you get to go to the opening ceremony of the Olympic Winter Games, Pyeongchang 2018. Congratulations, Bone Crusher. We're going to crown our champion very soon, but let's go back to Joe, Mitch, and Nick first.
What a phenomenal moment there for Bone Crusher, managing to take it in the end. Not the world record, but definitely a phenomenal time. fastest time we saw for the entire weekend on downhill, doing it in style, and you could see the emotion on his face. That winning moment when he stood up and cheered at his desk, that was when you knew that he was happy with his result.
Yeah, it's crazy to watch, especially it's everything we hoped for. He was up and down on the split time. He was behind, then he was ahead, then he was behind. Last second crossing the finish line, managed to break that score.
Even here in the studio, away from the competitors on the main stage, you can feel the relief that Bone Crusher had as soon as he stood up and he knew that he had clinched first place. That was an incredible run by all four of them. Robin, Snicks not coming out with the run that he wanted to, but it happens.
Yeah, and it's not really his event either. So
Right.
he still has his slope style doesn't get the sweep of the events that everyone thought would happen, but we'll see if he can handle it in the slope style.
Absolutely phenomenal performance there from Bone Crusher, though. 0.6 seconds ahead of the competition. An entire half second in when we were looking at them getting through the split gates, when you were seeing the times popping up, it was like tenths of seconds between them, and then manages to get a full half second ahead of the competition is a phenomenal result.
Yeah, and 2 seconds ahead of his first run of the day. So he was able to shave 2 extra seconds. I think he was able to focus or reel in that pressure that he was feeling earlier on, break 2 more seconds off of his score. It wasn't as hard for him as he thought.
Fantastic stuff coming out from the American contender. He is going to be going to the opening ceremony at the Pyeongchang Olympics, or the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang in 2018. That's going to be a phenomenal thing. He's going to remember that for the rest of his life.
Right. He has been excited for this prize since the day that the competition was announced. He's excited to go and see the Olympic Village, see the opening ceremonies, and just get to bask in the glory of being a champion. Not an official Olympic champion, but he is a champion that will be going to the Olympics as his reward.
And this is the first ever championship that Steep Road to the Olympics has had, and he's there on the forefront, taking that prize to himself, taking the victory, and solidifying himself in the Steep Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that just proves to everyone that he is the competitor that he says he is, and he can throw down the best time when it's most important.
I'm sure he's excited to be able to say that he is the first ever winner in the history of Steep tournaments in the Steep Grand Final.
Absolutely, and you guys must be happy as well. A North American representative managing to take the trophy at the end of the day as well. So the home crowd is pleased here on the desk.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all good friends. All of the competitors are great friends, but there is a little bit of camaraderie with being from the same continent. Mitch is from Canada. I'm from the United States. So there is that camaraderie. We are happy for him.
Yeah, he gets to watch Team USA in the opening ceremonies too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I want to give a quick shout out to the other downhill players as well. We've had some phenomenal times across the board here today. Had some phenomenal runs that were cut off just a little bit short, people playing it incredibly risky and not quite paying off, but Bone Crusher managing to do it in the end. And speaking of, I think it's about time that we pass it back down to Matt Andrews on the stage and begin our prize ceremony for the downhill.
Thank you, Joe, Mitch, and Nick. What an amazing downhill final we've had. We've got a slopestyle final to come, don't forget. But before we get to that, let's crown our champions. In third place of the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Final downhill event, Cinematic Jason Simay from the United States. Our runner-up from the Netherlands, Daan Veldhuis. And our champion of the downhill event at the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Final, Alexander Hirschberger, Bone Crusher. Ladies and gentlemen, please be up standing for the national anthem of the United States of America. Congratulations, Alexander Hirschberger of the United States of America, who will be going to the opening ceremony of the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. He's the champion of our downhill event, but gentlemen, we need to get them back to their desks as it's time for our slopestyle final. Let's see who'll be going to Pyeongchang as the winner of that. Back to our brilliant guys, Mitch, Nick, and Joe, and let's get on the boards.
Thank you very much, Matt. What a ceremony coming out. Bone Crusher managing to take it in the end. Phenomenal stuff coming out from him, and you can see the elation on his face off the back of that victory. He has to get back to his desk, though, because he's competing in the snow style as well. The slope style, sorry, coming through as we head onto the snowboards, onto the slope once again. What are we expecting to see coming on out here? Because we have 4 very different contenders, but 2 of the guys on that podium, Cinematic and Bone Crusher, both going to be in the finals for the slopestyle as well.
Right, so definitely Bone Crusher is coming into this with the most confidence of all of these riders, and he is now looking to take both tickets to go to the the opening ceremonies as the champion for both this events. But
absolutely, yeah. He's looking to try and grab both tickets. He's looking to really push himself forward. He's already got 1 championship under his belt. He wants to double it up if he can. Let's take a look at where we stand, though, with our 4 finalists. We do have Snicks topping that table with a phenomenal run. But as we said before, people were playing it safe in the first round, so you expect these scores to be shattered as we move on into our finals.
Yeah, Snicks, he can definitely push it further. The highest score we've seen this weekend, about 54,000. 3,000 off of the world record, but they're going to be pushing harder and harder. And Bone Crusher already has his ticket, so he has nothing to lose in this event.
Yeah, absolutely. He can do whatever he wants as he moves on into this final. He's already going to the Olympics at this stage, so I'm curious to see how that's going to affect his mindset coming into the final. But let's talk about the rest of the competition as well, because there are definitely some powerful contenders in that lineup.
yeah, definitely Snicks is going to have all eyes on him coming forward with, again, we're going to keep saying it, he's the world record holder. He has pushed this course to its limit, so hopefully he's going to be able to provide today and push it even further.
I mean, we've seen one world record holder take his event in that style. Now we could see the same thing coming on through. But the rest of the contenders as well, definitely looking strong. And I want to talk about Cinematic for a second as well, because he's definitely a player that you expect good things to come out from as we head on into the slopestyle.
Yeah, he loves these high-scoring events. And as I mentioned, this weekend he has beaten the score that Snicks threw down earlier on today. So he's easily in contention for that. And since Snicks didn't win the first event, he might want to remove his record or his title as the slopestyle champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about Iseba as well, down in the 4th place there, managing to make it to the slopestyle finals here. Now, I wasn't sure if he'd actually made it there, but I think the bail at the end disqualified Luktos, sorry. So he's not going to make it on into the finals. It is, in fact, going to be Iseba instead, which kind of changes the tables a little bit, because Iseba, it felt like he'd had an unfortunate performance in both events. It felt like he'd been knocked out, but he's been given a second life. Or in fact, actually, I believe it is going to be Luktos coming on in instead. So my mistake there on that one. Luktos, though, specializing in downhill, but coming on into the slopestyle finals. This could be his kind of redeeming moment.
It could be, yeah. He doesn't have any world records in the game, as we mentioned, but he wants something out of this event, and this could easily be the one that he knows. He knows the lines, just wasn't doing as good as the others in that first run.
Absolutely, and I'm curious to see our 2 American players there, both 5,000 and 7,000 points behind Snicks respectively. Are they going to be able to close that gap onto the Norwegian player? Because 7,000 points, that's quite a lot when the run is only up to about 50,000 on average.
I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. I wouldn't be surprised if all 4 were very close in their scores, pulling out the biggest, best runs that they can. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see Snicks, even though those people are stepping up their game, when he steps his up, he's already above the rest of the competition.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, we saw one rider miss a rail in that first segment earlier, and that cost him the 6,000 points that didn't take him on. So Snicks misses one rail, and those people behind him easily creeping up on a score.
Absolutely, and that's a lot of that is the stage pressure, right? You're playing in front of a crowd. You're playing with everything on the line. And we're going to be starting off with Luktos. He's going to be the first one to hit the rails. He's going to be the first one to hit the slope. What are we expecting out of the German? Is he going to be able to boost that score? Because his 38,000 has a long way to go if he wants to be a major contender here.
Right. And those scores will not count towards the final. so he can come out with a completely clean ride and try to maximize that ride again. So I think he's going to be pushing as hard as he can. There's no reason not to. He needs to make up a lot of ground to compete with the best in this competition.
I mean, we're beyond the point of stylish runs right here. We had a couple of stylish runs earlier on the slopes. That was a nice little treat for us. But now in the final, when you're playing for a ticket to the Olympic opening ceremony, you can't pass up that opportunity. This is where you have to try your absolute best. And I'm excited to see what we have coming out from the German. He'll be going on to the slopes first. But I'm excited to see what we have coming out from all of the players, especially the fact that we have Snicks and Cinematic, the two friends that have known each other for years and years, been practicing together. They're now contenders. They now have to go in and try and defeat one another once they get onto the slopes here.
Yeah, this is going to be bragging rights for them for the next couple of years, or until the next event actually happens. They're going to have it in the grand finals, so we'll see who can take off.
All right, well, it's about time that we kick our grand finals off. It's going to be Lukto starting things off on this stage. So, gentlemen, please take it away once more.
Okay, we are ready for the final 4 competitors in the slope style. Here we go.
This is going to be interesting. We'll see who can get those most possible points. Slowed down there. He does not turn up the hill like some of the other riders.
Right.
So if he holds that just a little too long, his run could end. But he has that 3 times multiplier coming off of the first one. He's looking in pretty good position compared to some of the other riders earlier.
That is very dangerous what he is doing there with his stopping. A lot of the competitors like Snicks, Iseba, and Cinematic are all doing the turnaround, the little 180 turnaround, because there is almost no chance that they're going to stop. And again, if you do stop in this contest, oh, misses that rail, the last 2 features of that feature, that's going to hurt his score dramatically.
It's going to cost him a lot of points, like
missing again the C rail. Let's see what he can do with these last 3 jumps here.
Yeah, I mean, he is first, so he doesn't get to see the other riders and know exactly what he has to do. But at the same time, he's got a couple jumps left to try to beat his original score in his first run.
Coming in a little rough on the second to last jump here, and his final jump of the day will be a triple backflip seat belt. And another rodeo nose grab.
He's going to use up those last couple of tricks here.
Make sure he doesn't stop.
Probably just across the finish line. Lands at 33,600, so right on par with this first run that he had.
Right.
Probably won't take down some of the top competitors in those 50,000s, but still put on quite a good show there in those runs.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Missing those couple rails is definitely something that you can't do if you're looking for the top spot, but who knows? It might come down to everyone misses something in this final run. The stakes are high. The pressure on that stage has to be immense right now.
Yeah, and here we go. We got Bone Crusher coming up next. Already won his ticket to the Olympics, but he could go for all the glory and try and take both events, so nice and slow here on the first rail.
Taking his time, making sure not to miss any part of those rails. Now you can see by his body language, he is not as intensely looking at the screen, whereas in the downhill competition, he was almost pressed up against the monitor, making sure that he had the perfect lines.
Yeah, here he is. That's extremely slow on that rail, though, so he might be able to make up some extra points.
Oh, wonderful.
Almost missed that one, though. Here we go. This is the hard one to land on, and he does it, so he's going to come off in good position for the last feature and those final 3 big jumps.
So coming into the C rail, followed by the big kicker. Oh, he misses the C rail. He manages to recover and grab almost the entirety of that final rail. Now heading into the last 3 jumps. Let's see what he can pull out here. ×4 multiplier is obviously activated. Starts off with a triple cork. Looking nice coming off the right of that jump. Big air with another triple cork. Let's see if he goes for another triple or if he tries for 4. He's going to get 3 triple corks in a row, followed by the remainder of his mini tricks before he reaches the finish line.
Let's go, does it across. He had that 1 trick left, but at the same time, he could have wiped out using it before the finish gate. So went for the safe route, got 42,000 points, which better than we saw from Luktos, but at the same time, still 10,000 back on Snicks' score.
Right, it might not be the winning run, but you can definitely still see the smile on his face after winning the first competition.
Oh, yeah, he's happy about that. This one doesn't matter too much for him. But here we go. Those two friends we've been talking about, known each other for 8 years, they are competing head-to-head to see who gets to go to the Olympics. And their scores are pretty close, especially their records that they've set.
Right, so we're going to get ready to see cinematics run here in just a second. And here we go.
Yeah, he's going to go off to the right this time. He likes to slow down. We'll see those turnaround moves now from the two professionals that love slopestyle. Going nice and slow into this rail with the nose press spinning all the way. He's confident in this section. Gets a great flip off of it too. Almost 7,000, which is the highest we have seen on that first feature set here in the finals.
Right, getting a huge boost already. He's going to reach that multiplier super fast, and there it is, that ×4. Super important when you're looking at the numbers. It's going to be very close between all of the competition, I believe.
Yeah, and here we go. He's going to go into the third feature set.
A little bit more speed than we've been seeing.
Just got to land on this pole right here. Got it easily, so he's got to get a flip. Oh, he's going to...
Oh, no! Wipes out after the cannon rail. Just wasn't able to jump off and get enough rotation.
That absolutely wipes out his multiplier, so unless Snicks has a mistake in the final run, he can pretty easily take that score.
Right. So here we see Cinematic finishing out his run, building his multiplier back up. He's really going to have to pull something great out here, but with losing your speed that close to these jumps, it's very difficult to make that speed up to get the big air that you need on this final jump to pull out a big quadruple with tons of points.
There we go. He lands the final jumps, falls again on the mini tricks. Not that it would matter too much. He was getting back into the score though. He's at 37,000. That beats Luctose's run in this, who had no wipeouts. So he was able to build that multiplier back up, cross the finish line with 38,000.
38,000, not a terrible score. Finished with 2 tricks remaining. What do you think?
I don't know. We'll see if Snicks tries to hold back and play it extremely safe, or if he just goes what he is confident with, goes for those 50,000 runs that he is used to. If he's that comfortable doing it, we might see him shatter his world record right here. It's going to come down to that final jump, though. See how many tricks he has left and what he can push himself.
Snicks is preparing for what could be the best run that we have ever seen in slopestyle in RTTO.
And we'll see what happens here. Of course, if he does this run like normal, he may know whether or not he won by the final 2 jumps. And there we go. 6,000 on
Not as much as Cinematic.
Not as much.
But he still has a ton of time. So
nice
coming in now.
We got a nice flip onto that rail too, getting all of the spins. Gonna have a huge air off of that rail too, so he is working his way up the scoreboard. Still not as high as the other competitors in the section, so he's really gonna have to push himself if he wants to break his own world record.
Coming down now to the tricky cannon rail. Has been proving dangerous for some of the competitors, but not Snicks, landing it perfectly for the second time today. Now working his way towards the final 2 rails.
He almost did wipe out there too. It looked like he went for a mini trick, last second realized he didn't have the air, so was able to save himself, keep that multiplier active. He just has to land a few more jumps right here, and he can make his way to the Olympics. So we are up to 42,000. One more jump should solidify it for him. He has to beat 44,000 points. Lands it, 48,000 points, so now it's just for the glory. He has officially won the slopestyle event. He just has to cross the finish line. 53,000, he's pushing it higher and higher. If he gets up to the 54, that's close to the highest run we've seen this entire week, and we knew he could do it. Just as we expected, Snicks was able to win the slopestyle event. He is absolutely thrilled with that.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, both neighbors, Bone Crusher and Snicks on the stage there, winning first place in their respective competitions.
Yeah, and they're in the stacked group. Group B has all the tough competitors in it, and they were able to take it all the way. Funny enough, the 2 people we expected to win the events were able to do it, so they could prove themselves as the true champions of their events.
Yeah, so let's recap. Who did you think could have done better?
I think
in the final rounds,
Cinematic maybe was trying to push to beat his friend Snicks that we talked about, so he wasn't able to catch up to his buddy, but he was extremely close. But we have the interview ready with Matt down on stage, so we'll send it to him.
Smix, congratulations. You are the winner of our other ticket to the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. The winner of our slopestyle final, and I can see it really means a lot to you.
Yeah, it does. I'm kind of shaking right now, and I was really nervous going up against Cinematic, and him kind of making a, not a mistake, but kind of falling was pretty unfortunate, but yeah.
It's a big deal competing on a stage like this, on a game like Steep. It's not something you get a lot of opportunity to compete on big stages with a wonderful audience like we have here. You've handled it so well today, though. We've talked a few times. You've done brilliantly in Group B, and now you're the winner of the final. But you were worried that although you were the favorite going into this, you know, things could still go wrong.
I think that is what put a lot more pressure on me because everyone was kind of expecting me to win, but I'm really happy with the results. And no, of course, not everyone gets the opportunity to do this, but this is really amazing.
Not everybody gets the opportunity to go to a Winter Olympics either. How excited are you for that?
I am really excited. So I'll see Bone Crusher in Pyeongchang.
You will. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of our slopestyle final, Smix. Let's have a look at some of the replays of that brilliant final.
Thank you very much, Matt. Smix is going to take it in the end. Phenomenal stuff coming out from the Norwegian player. He was the favorite coming in. He looked phenomenal when he was on the slope, and he knew he was the last contender as well, so he knew the scores he had to beat. He knew that he just had to get his average score. He just had to pull out a normal run for him, and he absolutely did that, taking the championship. We have our two champions locked in now. What a day this has been. What a phenomenal set of runs. And look at that. 54,000 points. 12,000 ahead of the guy in second. That is a just ridiculous performance.
Yeah, it's just some of those costly mistakes that we talked about. Missing rails or wiping out by pushing yourself a little too far costs you in slopestyle. It is just like downhill. One mistake can end it for you.
Right. That spread was a little further than what I expected out of the competition. But we did know that Snix was going to be showing us everything that he had. So let's take a look at the first place run here.
Yeah, he's just a professional at this event. Just like Bone Crusher studied the downhill, this guy studies slopestyle, knows exactly what flip. He could probably tell you from his mind exactly what flip he's going to do at what time, how many spins he's going to get in. He practices it that much. They put so much time into this event. I heard players were practicing 60 hours to get his world record on this. 60 hours to get a world record.
Wow. And again, these players might be used to pressing the retry halfway through this event if it's not exactly what they want. So they were on a stage where they couldn't even press the button. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive that he can still pull out these huge scores.
It's always a phenomenally different experience playing, practicing at home in your bedroom when you can just retry and retry and retry. Here on the stage, there were no second chances. You didn't get to just keep on having another go. It had to be perfect, and we saw Snix and we saw Bone Crusher managing to get those perfect runs, managing to put out some incredible scores. You can see just the highlights coming on through here. I think one of the most impressive things was Snix on those final 3 jumps, putting up some crazy numbers, even from that first round.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't have to go as hard as he did on those final 3 jumps, but at the same time, I think, you know, you want to shatter your world record when you have it set. Why not prove it on the biggest stage we've had in Steep so far?
All right, well, it's about time that we present our champion with his ticket to the Olympics. It's time to pass it back down on to the stage with Matt Andrews to award our champions their medals.
Thank you very much, Joe. Yes, our slopestyle final has concluded. Time to crown our champions. In third place from the United States of America, Jason Simay. Our runner-up in the slopestyle final from the United States of America, Alexander Hirschberger. And the champion here at the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Final and attending the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018 from Norway, Smix Robin Westingen. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be upstanding for the national anthem of Norway? Congratulations, Robin Westingen of Norway, who is the champion of the slopestyle final at the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Finals. Joe, Mitch and Nick, what two incredible finals we've had.
We certainly have had incredible finals. We've had an entire incredible day here with two events coming on down, two champions being crowned, Bone Crusher and Smix managing to win out their respective events, and just what a performance. And also Bone Crusher and Cinematic managing to make it to both podiums. Phenomenal performances coming out from both of those players, and obviously Smix managing to round things out with his medal in the slopestyle at the end of the day.
Right, Cinematic still has to be happy, even though he did not place first in either of the two competitions. He still managed to make it to the podium both times, proving himself as one of the very best.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal performance coming on through. All of the players that have managed to do a phenomenal job here today can be very pleased with themselves. Not just the ones that managed to win out the events, but even just to qualify for this event was truly a tremendous achievement to make it here. This was the first ever Steep Championship, right? To make it to the first ever live event must be such an honor for these players.
It is, and all of them had to finish in first place in a challenge, except for the wild cards. But they had to finish in first place to earn their spot here. So they have to be happy with their performances.
Absolutely. Now, guys, what have been your highlights over the course of today here? Because we've had some incredible moments. We've had some doozies as well. We've had a couple of bits where people bailing maybe when they shouldn't have been bailing. But definitely, it's been a highlight reel of a day, if you will.
Yeah, especially the biggest highlight, I believe, in my mind, would be Bone Crusher coming back from his not-so-great qualifying run to then take first place in the downhill event.
Yeah, I mean, the moment where Bone Crusher saw the failure coming out from the latter player, you could see the elation in his face at that moment.
Yeah, he was elated for that. My heart was going. And then in the final event when he was doing it as well, the back and forth with his split time when he was down and then up and down and up, both of us leaning forward on the desk watching the prompters, just seeing if he could get it at that final second. So everyone was on edge.
Absolutely. This has been an absolutely fantastic event. I've enjoyed absolutely every single moment. Guys, this has been a huge event for you as well. This has been a long time coming. Any sort of last moments that you've got the audience ahead of you? What have you got to say?
It was amazing just to come here and actually run an event like we do at home, but with the whole production studio, and have the best players competing and getting to comment on their runs.
Yeah, winning the Shoutcaster competition means so much to us. We don't get to win the ticket to the actual Olympics, but this is our Olympics. This is the pinnacle of what we hope to achieve, and it's even better that I get to do it with my best friend and some other wonderful broadcasters.
Thank you very much. Well, fantastic job here today, guys, and I'm going to pass it back over to the stage. Thank you very much from myself and the rest of the production crew up here. I'm going to pass it back to the stage to Matt Andrews to round out the show.
Oh, we're all feeling the love in the room. Thank you, Mitch and Nick, and of course Joe as well, for a tremendous job throughout two incredible finals. This has been the Steep Road to the Olympics Grand Finals. Steep Road to the Olympics, of course, developed by Ubisoft, and is the official licensed game of the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. Thank you to everybody who took part in qualifiers to be here, to our incredible 6 competitors who've given us such amazing action on both downhill and slopestyle. Most of all, congratulations to Smix and to Bone Crusher, who will both be attending the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. Thank you to everybody involved in our production. Thanks to you for watching, and enjoy the Winter Olympics when they come to you from Pyeongchang. Congratulations again to Smix and Bone Crusher.
Look out, Mr. Future.